Well, hey there, everybody. So today we're going to work on Chapter 3, and the first one we have here is going to be on page 3-4. So let's go ahead and get started. This one's going to be two parts. We're going to draw them both in the same file, just because there's really no point, in having separate files for such petty little things like drawing an arc and then, another drawing with it. So the first thing we're going to do is an arc with a start point of 6,3, center point, and then an angle. So we're going to look for start, center, and then angle. There we go. And then the start point, as it's asking for at the bottom, will be 6, 3. The center point's 3, 3. And the angle is 240. So there's that one. And then next up we have a grid spacing that it's given us. So I'm going to go ahead and double check and make sure we have what we need. The spacing between the grids is 1. So we want no subdivisions. We just want one major line every. And I'm going to do ½ inch here so that we can, potentially, if needed, snap to the midpoints of each grid. And you want to make sure, if you didn't already have it done, to uncheck the limits. This is kind of a standard on every single template that I open. I'm going to have 1 inch spacing and no limits past the boundary of our limits. So or no grids, I should say. So anyway, we're going to start at the grid spot in the book, which is 1, 2, 3, 2. We're going to start with that bottom left corner. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I guess I could have my grid on. And that's just going to be like a placeholder. I know it's going to be an arc right here. So like I'm just going to draw 1 over. And technically I'm going to start here. So I'm going to do 3 wide. And I'm going to put ortho on so we can kind of quickly snap between these. I'm going to go up 1. Then we're going to have a circle. And it's going to give a start center angle. So we actually already have that one selected. So we can do a start, a center, and an angle of 180. Now, hopefully it doesn't flip. We'll see. Okay, so I'm typing 180. And it only went half of there. Okay, so let's try that again. I'd be lying if I ever said I used this tool. Yeah, what's funny is it is 180, as you see. But that's fine. So we're just going to click it instead of trying to type it in. And I did have to turn, if you notice, I had to turn polar on for that. So I'm going to turn ortho back on, connect 1 over, go up 2. Then we're going to use the 3-point arc option. So I'll click the start point. Then I will choose the, I guess what you would call the midpoint. Huh. It didn't take any of that. Okay, so let's put it back on polar. There we go. The key is to have polar on. So click there, there, and there. I'm going to switch back to ortho. And that's F8 and F10, in case you're wondering why you're not seeing me click. I just hit the buttons. So I'm going to close it out. And then we will have a start, center, end option. So I'll choose start. Here's the time where I'm going to go ahead and delete this and shrink this back up. So I'm going to turn off my snap for a minute. Turn it back on. Okay, so start, center, end. There we go. All right, so that's exercise 2. Let's jump on over to exercise 3 on page, well, kind of 3.6 and 3.7 really. And this one's going to have 2 parts too. Specify the directions and coordinates of 2 arcs in such a way that they form a Circular figure. That does make a ton of sense. Basically, it's just saying to make a circle through whatever means. So I'm going to do grid snap on, and just so I don't have this in the way of our other drawing, I'm going to draw it way out here. You know, let's do it from this end. So at 15.9, well, you know what? Now let's do it right here. 13.7, I'm going to do a 3-point arc. Okay? And then I can do start, center, end. And there you go. 2 circle arcs that make a circle. You know, I guess it's good practice to know you can do things a different way, but obviously, at the end of the day, you're just going to draw a circle the majority of the time and do a tan radius circle for any time you need an arc. So, but it is cool to notice, you know, you have different options, and you know, I mean, obviously they all do work and they mean exactly what they say. So input is based on whichever one's first. So starts first, center second, ends third, all the way down for all these. And continue is kind of niche, but it's covered in a later assignment. So anyway, we have grid spacing of 1 again. And I guess I'm going to start at the far left arc. So let's see, it's 1/2 over, and then it's going to be 3.5 up. Unfortunately, my rectangle's in the way, so I'm going to actually delete it in this case. I try to keep true to the origin here of the book, so it was 1, 2, 3 up, 3.5. So here we are, 1/2. So that's going to be the beginning of our tangent. So I'm going to just for now draw as a placeholder the length of the part itself. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. Let me double check that. Yeah, 7.5. Okay. Now, granted, there's many ways you can go about this, but this is the way I figured I would. So I'm going to go ahead and go 1/2 up from that center line. And you didn't have to draw this line if you didn't want to. For me, it's a little easier to visualize, though, if it's present. So I'm going to keep going. So that's 4 over. Okay. And then we know that right here, in line with this edge, we're going to have a circle. And that's going to be where it connects there. So you've got the center line to the quadrant, and it meets that line at the end point. So then we have a radius circle. It's going to be at that same position. And it's going to click to this first grid edge. And let's see, we can go ahead and just do an arc over here. So let's do start, center, end. Start, center. And let's see, hold control if you're having problems to flip it. Then I'm going to just draw a line and trim. Whoops. I don't know what I was thinking there. Completely trimmed that wrong. Okay, so trim that, trim that. We will trim that once we get the other part in. I could technically mirror it across that line I had, but I think it's better to, you know, show off a little bit of how to do these things in times where it's not so obvious what to do. So I'm going to, in this case, show a different way and use a tan radius. And I will click edge, edge, and then the radius is going to be simply the grid size. So then I'm going to trim, trim, and I missed one. Okay, so last thing to do is just to draw our little circles. This one's going to be concentric to the last one. And then from here, we're going to go over, looks like 3 grid units. Yeah, 3. Same over here. And there we go. Yeah, that one's not too bad. You know what? I just now saw it actually is used to start in direction arcs, but that's okay. I mean, you know, if you're creating it, regardless of the method, you know, you're going to end up getting the same end product. You know, you're welcome to use that tool because that's really what it's trying to direct you to do is learn how to use start in direction. But that's probably the one I use the least, in all honesty. It's really not you know, perfect by any means. I don't know. I wouldn't use it a ton, so it's fine. So up next, on page 3.9, we have exercise 4. And where is it actually? Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this one's not bad at all. It's just basically creating an arc. So draw a minor arc at the 3-4. Basically, okay, if you look, it's calling for center start length in the title. So that pretty much tells you that's what we're going to be using. So center point. Actually, I've already goofed. Okay, so before you do anything, down here, it says enter start point or center. So I'm going to choose center, 3, 4. And then start point is going to be 4, 2. And then a chord length, if you notice again, we have to choose. You could type in L as well, as you see that blue L, and then type in 4. And that's going to be our item for exercise 4. It's actually pretty quick. And up next on the same page, well, it's kind of the beginning of exercise 5. You can see the instructions, but it's a part A and part B too. So on part A, we're going to do a center start angle and continue tool. So it's going to be 2 things in case you're curious. Continue. It's kind of be one fell swoop, but you're gonna make your arc, and then immediately choose continue, and it will continue from that arc. So you have to be very fluid and transition from one tool to the next. There can't be a line drawn in between or anything like that. So let's see. We're supposed to draw the profile in figure 317. So I'm just going to kind of wing it here. And let's see. This is going to be a pretty wide sketch. So I guess I'm going to try to draw it over here. We may end up having to move it, but we'll see. So for now, let's start at this point. And I am going to do, wait, what kind of arc are we using? I forgot already. Start center angle, or start center start angle. So we'll do something like this. And then let's see. I guess I can hold control to flip the direction. And what sucks is I actually think I went backwards because it's going to continue from the wrong end. Yeah. Okay, so let's undo that. Oh. Center start angle. It's such a niche tool, I never even looked for it, you know what I mean? Okay, so center start angle. Okay, so center here, start, and then let's do this angle and continue. Okay, so now I can click and it continues. Pretty chill, right? The tool to get to that point, not too great. Oops. But that's just because center start angle is a silly method. Technically, you could do a 3-point, and I wouldn't complain. That's what I would really be using if I were choosing the tools, you know. But it's fine. Okay, so next we have center point here. Let's do a start point like right here, and this one goes pretty far. Let's go to like right here, and then choose continue. And how about that? I mean, these obviously aren't perfect, but you know, they're not supposed to be. And this one's kind of fun, I think. You can start from the outside or the inside. I think I'll do the outside first. I'm going to do something like this, and then basically I'm just going to keep hitting continue and just push the envelope a little bit here. And I'm not really looking at the book, so I don't know if my swirls will end up more or less, but you know, as quick as this is to just go and click a point and then hit that button on the ribbon again, it's really not a lot of work. And I fear it may mess it up, but let's try hitting space. Nope, space didn't work. Okay. You know, like space repeats a command. I thought maybe it would make this a little quicker, but no, space pulls out the center circle radius. For whatever reason, in case you guys aren't familiar, space is great for repeating commands, but if you do that with an arc or a circle or whatever, man, AutoCAD sucks about it. It'll always repeat the wrong command. You know, if I hit repeat, it starts a radius circle, always. If I choose any of these commands or any of these, it'll always repeat this command instead. So something to keep an eye on when you're doing like a diameter circle. It's pretty easy to accidentally repeat and draw a radius circle instead. It's a first world problem, but you know, here we are in 2021 and it's still an issue. So I'm going to complain about it till the end of time. All right, so now we've got part B, and I'm just going to check the instructions, make sure I'm not missing anything. So it's 1 units per grid space, and again, we're given a bunch of fun little inputs for doing our arcs. So I'm just going to start at 2, 1 and draw everything without arcs, and I'll just add them in a minute. So it's 6 wide. Oh, look at that. It's so close to not being in the way. Sad day. Okay, that's fine. We'll move it in a minute. So 3 away from the end up there is going to be where this stuff ends. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and finish it out, and then I'll touch it up as we go. So a fun trick, if you don't want to have to, like, you know, be cautious in your selection here, you can actually just, you know, click and then move your mouse and click again to box select, and then when you're done, if you hold shift and do the same method, you can actually deselect things. I think it's a lot easier in cases like this to just quickly deselect, but I'm going to scale this because it's a little big, taking up all the room here. Now it's even easier to do that same method and just deselect. Move that about right here, and we'll keep on. Okay. Alright, so first step, I'll do these little guys on the right. So we have 2 times, and it's going to be start, end, radius. So start, end, radius. Start, end. Make sure you have hit F10 so you can actually see the directions you're going. I'm going to hold control to flip it in this case. And the radius is 7. Wait. 0.7. Well, that didn't come out good. Start and radius. Oh, you know what? It is 7. My mistake. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm still using a book, and this is the only one that I still have to use, but it throws me off to this day. I did something wrong. Huh. Maybe it is the other direction. Okay, I don't even know. That's fine. We'll just do it this way. How about that? Go from top to bottom. Well, that is clearly not 7. And if I move something like this over, I know it can't be. Huh. Is it really 7? I mean, it has to be. Okay. Yeah, to me it actually strikes as 0.7. Yeah. Alright, sorry to waste your time there. So I'm just going to do from top to bottom so it goes the right direction to start with. And I'm going to do 0.7. Making sure to have my mouse horizontal there. I don't know if it matters, but saves a little time. As I mentioned earlier, I'm definitely not fluid with some of these commands, but I'm still happy to show them off regardless. You know, odds are you're probably not going to use them, but practice is always a good thing. And here I am going in autopilot trying to draw things. So let's do the start end radius. And let's do here to, oh, it snapped. Okay, so we're going to start and end. So I'm going to have to turn off my snap for a minute since we're using the grid snap. So I'm going to do start, end, and then our radius is going to be the value of our grid spacing, which is 1. I don't know what happened there. That's what I thought. Okay, so it should be here to here. Yeah, I don't know what happened earlier. I did the same inputs. That's fine. So start, end, radius of 1, and it went the wrong way, which is why it's crucial to either choose here first or make sure you move your mouse enough just to see the direction you're going and hold control if you need to flip it. I mean, to tell you, it's a pain in the butt. I cannot stand that it does that. Weird. Okay, that's fine. If you're having problems, just choose the other end. Again, this is my complaint with these tools. I shouldn't have to like actually fight to draw it right, but you know, it's still good to know. I don't mean to be pessimistic about it, but obviously, when you're drawing things, you don't want to be having to fight a tool all the time. That's not very efficient. So I would say get it together AutoCAD, but Autodesk. So get it together Autodesk. And there's our 3-point arc, which for some reason looks goofy to me. So I'm going to double check it. It's supposed to be 2.5 over. And it is. So maybe it's that we're missing a little hole in the middle still. And that'll tidy it up a little bit when we add it. We're going to do it through a start, center, length. Start, center, length. So let's do a start here, center here, and you know what? We're just going to click it. Easiest way to not have to worry about it. And yeah, so all we got to do now is just trim that. No, I forgot about this little part. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be it for that one. So we're going to jump on over to exercise 6 on page 314. And for that one, we're going to be drawing some rectangles. Nothing too crazy, don't look like. So it says, draw a rectangle of length 4, width 3, and a start point of 1, 1. So we're going to do rectangle. And down here it's going to ask for some stuff. So we can do a width first. And our width is going to be 3. Okay. So now it says some more options, and we can do I think elevation is supposed to be our length. Let me double check this and just try it. So let's type in 4. Now we need to do a start point of 1. So it's actually asking for a corner, so we can just go ahead and top it. Oh, and this is a 3D model. Yeah, that's not what we're looking for. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's do the first corner first this time. How about that? Okay, so I goofed earlier. I can tell you guys what's happening. If this happens to you, it's actually a good like learning experience. If this happens, you need to change your width, because now it's actually the line width. I should have read that earlier. And I actually don't know what that is, the actual value, so I'm just going to have to see if I can't open a new template and find out what it is. Okay, so W. So it's 0. Okay. So I'm going to close that. So if you've made the same blunder as me, go ahead and choose that, top width, top 0, and that'll fix our problem. So now you could just go ahead and continue your command like you would normally. So it's 1, 1 for the first point, and then it's asking for dimensions down at the bottom, so I can hit D and enter. Now the length is 4, and the width is 3. And now, the only thing left to do is saying specify the other corner, and it doesn't tell us what that is. But basically, if I move my mouse, it gives me options to position it. I'm just going to do the top right position, basically. So I'm going to just click up here. That way it's inside our title block. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do first corner of 1.5, 1.5. We're going to hit D, enter for dimensions. Length is 2. And width is 1. And then I can choose again, which way to go. I'm just going to go this way. Oh, you know what? Then it has angle. Actually, I take that back. So length to width, blah, 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 angle of 65. So I'm going to hit rotation, and then specify rotation of angle. I'm just going to type in 65. Now, that's weird. Okay, that's actually unfortunate. So let's just stop that and start it again. So apparently, you need to put your coordinate in first, and then immediately, before you try doing dimensions, you have to give the rotation, which is already put in, but just to show how it goes, I'm going to repeat all these. So then you go to dimensions, length of 2, which is already in there in my case. Same for the width. And then it'll position it with the option again to place it whichever way. I'm going to again choose top right. So yeah, that one's a little more quirky. You got to do point and rotation, then you can put in the values. So we'll go ahead and jump over to exercise 7. It's on the next page, 316. And we're going to do some ellipses this time. Ellipses. I don't know. Come on, you. All right, so we're just going to draw an ellipse with some values, and then draw another one. So this one shouldn't be too bad. So I'm just going to click right here. And it's going to ask us for the center. Let's see if we have that. Nope, totally random. Okay, well, in that case, let's just try to do like the middle of the drawing. So let's go at 8, 6. So I'll do center point, and then it says specify endpoint. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my mouse to the right 4. Yeah, actually it'd be 2. Major axis is the full length of the part, so I'm going to do here, and then the rotation. So like if you drew it right now and you gave it a value of like 5.5, okay, that's position, but I could also give an angle. And it would determine the sizing too, but what it's doing is it's choosing an angle across this axis where my mouse is moving. Well, yeah, horizontally. So I'm going to choose R, and it's 60. And then I'm going to do the same center location. And this one, it doesn't give us a axis. I'm just going to draw the same. And then it wants a 15 degrees. And that's awfully big, so I'm not sure what happened there. Let's try this again. Okay, I forgot to type rotation. That's why. Okay, so there we go. Kind of got like this tiger eye looking thing going on. It's pretty cool. But obviously the position's random, and the only thing that's constant is the axis and the rotation of these two. Nothing crazy. And again, this is one of those niche things. You're probably never going to use rotation, but I'm sure if you looked hard enough, there's a few times where it comes in handy to know. So we're going to jump over to exercise 8 on page 318, and another grid drawing is up for us. So let's go ahead and I guess I'll draw like the center lines for that, the ellipses, however you want to say it, and then we'll go ahead and draw those in. So if I were to go up 4 and over 1, I kind of just look at the coordinates to get there, so bear with me. Up 4, over 1. It's really close to our border, but that's fine. And it's going to be over 8. So I'm going to hit F8 so I don't have to worry about maybe drawing a not straight line. And then let's see how tall it is. It's only 7 tall, it looks like. Let me double check that because it starts on half units, which always makes it harder. Yeah, okay, so it's only 7. So I'm just going to be kind of lazy here and just type in 3.5 and 3.5. That way, you know, we've got the 7, but I don't have to work too hard for it. And it sucks because, again, this one's kind of in the way of our template, so I'm going to delete it in this case. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw our lines, which are, it's hard to see, man. 1.5 up. In this case. And the same on the other side. But actually, if you look closely, we don't need them vertically. It's just going to be the ellipse themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this with its center. Its major axis is 4, so I know it's going to be 2 over. And then I'm just going to click after I've got from that 1 point over, and click here. And I'm going to trim it to make sure it looks right, because you know you really never know. I mean, I'm a pro, but I still make mistakes just like the rest of you. So it should be 1, 2 to the center point, and it is. So we have an overall length of 4. We're just drawing in a, I guess you would call it a radius of a ellipse. And then I could technically copy this, but just for the reps, I'll draw it again. Center point, end point, minor axis point. And then this one, you know, it's actually the same item. So on this one, we are going to copy it and rotate it. And the reason being is, you know, we don't exactly know where it's going to land. The center may not be where we think it is. So I'm going to select the item, copy. I'm just going to generically grab anywhere and just pull it up, hit F10 to kind of get some flexibility. Just slap it in here. Slap on a rotate. Again, I'm just going to grab somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, I can just do wherever. And I'm going to make sure F8 is on, so we're snapping to the 90s. And I'm going to draw it in this position. And we can go ahead and copy it. And I'm just going to grab the top of it, or not copy, I'm sorry. We'll move it. I'll grab the top of it and move it to the top of that. That didn't work because I never turned snap back on earlier. Object snap should always be on except for when it's giving you problems, but you know, obviously forgot about it, so that's on me. And then, you know, I could do the same thing and copy it, rotate it, but now's a great time for mirror. So I'm going to type in mirror, grab my object, and then I'm going to choose my mirror line. So I'm just going to literally choose endpoints here. And I do want to keep my object because it would delete the top if I didn't. So we obviously need that. And yeah, I'm just going to look back at it, make sure it looks right here. And all is well. Okay. So up next is going to be on page 319, exercise 9. You know what? I missed part A of this exercise 8. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? Actually, I'll just draw it on here. Kind of keep with our format of drawing part A and B on the same file. So we have to just draw an ellipse with a center of 2, 3, an axis endpoint of 4, 6, and this may do a okay, it didn't. Cool. I'll say it may do an at, but we're good. And the other axis endpoint at a distance of 0.75 unit from midpoint of the first axis. What? Okay, you know what? That's it. So, okay. You know it's going to be easy when there's not even anything but text there. Okay, so we want a circumscribed polygon of 8 sides. So it's asking for the number of sides, 8. And then it's asking for a center point. It's amazing. Center polygon method. I'm not familiar with the center polygon method. It's obviously in the chapter, I'm sure, but I'm just gonna again go to 8, 6, and then let's do circumscribed. And the size is random, so let's see what looks good. You know, first of all, you can type in a number. Make sure your mouse is oriented. If you notice, like, wherever I position is where it's going to size or put the faces. So do vertical, horizontal, you know, one of the quadrants ideally. So I'm just going to hit F10 so I don't have to worry, F8 so I don't have to worry about it. And then let's do 2. 2 seems like a good one. So there we go. Basically what happens is it becomes aligned to that circle that you pretty much don't have, but you're talking about, you know, making it circumscribed to. So we put in 2, it's a radius value. I mean, that's pretty much it. So exercise 10 is going to be on page 320 as well as 319, just like a smidge of it. And it's also going to be pretty basic. It kind of makes this Borderlands symbol looking thing, if you guys are familiar. I certainly am. The vault symbol, I believe. It's been a while since I played. And we'll draw a polygon of 10 sides using edge command, blah, 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 blah. And it's going to look like the picture. So I'm just going to look at the picture. I think it should be able to give us enough. So let's start with that polygon, 10 sides. And then, okay, so after you type in that, don't choose the center point. This is where you're going to want to choose edge. And the first you actually do have to go back to page 319. The first endpoint of the edge is 7, 1, and the second endpoint of the edge is 8, 2. And that is gigantic. And I'll tell you why. This all goes back to, I'm pretty sure this is why. This all goes back to your input. If you are on relative or absolute, you know, that's your problem. I don't know if you noticed, in my command line, I noticed that it showed my second input not as like an inch away, but like, you know, it from that last point, that distance is 8 away. So it was pretty big, in fact. Okay, so we've got 10, and then edge 7, 1, and then 8, 2. There we go. Okay, so it should be, you know, a small little thing actually, although it appeared huge before. So that's a good way to tell if it's right or wrong. Does it fit in your title block? Which, in case you guys haven't noticed, the B size when I'm opening them, so it's 11 by 17. So then we're going to do a arc, elliptical arc. I think that's underneath ellipse still. Yep. And we're going to do first endpoint. Specify axis endpoint. Or center. I don't know. We're going to wing it. Okay, so let's do center. And then endpoint of axis, let's do this. And let's choose here. And then, so now this is the fun part. So this is where angle comes in. Let's see if it works as it's supposed to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is click here. So what it's asking, specify start of angle. I'm going to basically recreate cutting this part. So I just need to choose a reference point. You can choose this one or this one. I'm going to choose this one. And then when I choose it, now when I move my mouse, watch what happens. It's cutting it, okay? It's pretty neat. You know, you can basically say, I want this much of an arc, you know, this much, whatever. So for me, all I got to do now is choose the other endpoint, and it just deletes the rest on its own. It's like magic. It's actually one of the cooler tools, I think, even though you'll probably never use it in your life, besides right now. But it's really neat. So next we're actually flipping pretty good bit ahead. It's page 335. Exercise 13. And we're finally at the end of chapter exercises. So these guys will probably go a little bit quicker because we're not doing all these metaphoric drawing things. We're just drawing items. But we do have a grid again. And I'm going to keep to that same system and start from the bottom left, you know, locating it in reference to everything. It's 1 unit. And it says to choose arc tools, but you know what? Right beside it is everything I need. We're going to use circles and trim them if we need to. Maybe some arcs, but most likely the circles. The arc tools are cool, but, you know, we've explored them enough to understand how they work. Okay, so our bottom left point would be right here at 2, 2. So I'm going to draw like a kind of a construction line because this line will be deleted. But then we have 4 wide. Come on, you. Put on ortho. I'm going to go up 1, over 1. I'm going to turn the command off, turn it back on to draw some of our lines. And I'm just going to basically skip around, and we'll draw the arcs in later. I always find if you can, it's pretty easy to really understand what you're trying to add once you have as much definition as you can squeeze in. So, and I'm going to delete this little line now that we really don't need it. And let's see, so we have a line that'll be here. And we can do a, let's see, start, center, end. So we can start, center, hold control, end, and then start, center, end. So then we can go ahead and go 2 over, and this one's going to be a circle, and there's no better way to do this, so by all means please do it this way. Choose the center, choose radius. For your radius, click that endpoint. Bam, easy peasy. There is not a better way. And then we're going to have another circle concentric to it that just goes to that end of the grid. So then we're going to just draw a line, and it's kind of, let's go ahead and trim some of this actually. No bueno. We basically need this line here, but I've got some stuff in the way, so I'm just going to draw it a little long for a minute, and I'll just trim it back. And that's okay. We'll just draw a new line and delete this one. And you know what? Let's go ahead and trim this too. Alright, so we've got a circle. It's going to be half the size, and I've botched that. Half grid size. Trim. And then all we're missing is these ones over here. So, you could, I guess we'll just keep on using the start, center, end. It's actually not too bad. Haven't really used it much leading up to today. No, pretty much 0, but it does the deed. And as soon as I say that, my control is just not flipping it. So let's try this again. There we go. Sometimes you just got to start at a different point, So start, center, end, and there we go. Double check it, make sure it looks good. Yeah, so that's it. Up next is exercise 14 on page 336. And this one, be careful. The dotted lines are different. It's 0.5 this time. And this one is going to be drawn solely with ellipses, obviously. All right, so let's make sure we don't forget that grid snap. Let's do that first things first. So it's going to be 0.5 units. And because of that, let's go ahead and change this to be 0.25. So we are given an ellipse of a center that is 2 up. Now, unfortunately, our grid's going to be a lot closer now to the border, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete our little title block. So it's 2 up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over. All right. It's going to be pretty small, of course. It appears to be 6 wide, so 6 units, I should say. It's actually, going to be half, so it's only 1.5 inches for this. I guess you'd call it like a minor axis radius. And then we're just going to click for this one. So then our first one, the center is going to be 2 up from the actual center. So I can just choose that. Bad click. So I can just choose this little portion here. and then it's going to be 2 units wide. So then I can draw these slants using a center as well. It's going to be over 1 from, well, 2 from the center, I guess you would say, and up 1.5 units. So then I can go ahead and draw it back to this one because it's easiest, and then type in 0.25, which is half of our 0.5 value. You know, the reasoning being, you know, if you're drawing with a radius value, you've got to give the diameter value. So, yeah, anywho, so now, given where this is at, I can kind of eyeball it. I can tell that it's up here. You know what? I blew it. Okay, so it is over 2, actually. Okay, so up here. You know what? I may have to actually look at the book. Okay, that's fine. So from here, it is over 1 up to here. So I'm specifying the endpoint and then our size. And there we go. So we can jump on over to exercise 15. And our units is back to 1, so we don't have to change it in this case. And we're just going to use line, circle, and arc tools, it says. I'll probably use tan radius, and that's just fine if so. So we'll see how this plays. So we're going to start at 1, 1. Again, awfully close to our border, but that's fine. And I'm going to draw a placeholder line. I'm going to go over 5. Do another placeholder line, because that's where our arcs are going to be. Go up 3. And okay, so now I'm just going to delete my little, okay, apparently I goofed on that one, but I'm going to delete my little corners now. Alright, so we can do, well, let's do start, center, end. You know, seems to be working pretty good for us, don't it? Oh. Ah. The grid will get you sometimes. I'm so used to my mouse just flowing, you know. What happened there? That's okay. Yeah, I'm still not entirely sold that this is more ideal than a circle, but you know, and then the snap gets in the way. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my snap off because it's being a pain. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna turn my snap back on before I forget. Go ahead and trim this. And then we've got a radius circle that is 1.5 units away. And I can go ahead and just, you know, finish drawing it from the same proportion. I mean, to tell you, this snap is driving me crazy, guys. You know, they want you to zoom in more close than you really want to. So I just don't necessarily like to always do that when it's a simple drawing. So now we can just kind of quickly do half-inch circles, or half-unit circles that are radius half-inch, I guess you would say. And then we can go ahead and jump over to exercise 16, which is on page 337. And it's also 1 unit over from the bottom grid corner. It's 5 tall, 1 wide, and then we're going to go 3 down, if I can count. We're going to have an arc that comes below it, but for now I'm just going to kind of draw like a placeholder size. And if you've got ortho on, this is pretty quick to reproduce, as you can tell. So we'll go down 1, And then I'm just going to skip to where the end of that radius is. I'm going to go ahead and go down 3 and close it out. Okay, so I'm assuming, yep, these are radius circles, so I can just quickly draw those. And then I can draw a radius circle here instead of using an arc because it's slower. And do the same here. So then all we're left to do is do a trim, and delete. So yeah, as you can see, in my opinion, the arcs are often quicker, especially when you're using a grid. You know, it's hard to beat. And exercise 17 is going to be on page 337, same page. And we're changing our grid this time. So it says the distance between the dotted lines is 5 inches. And then we're going to change the units also. So first of all, let's change this to 2.5 and this to 5. And then we can change the units by typing in units. I can pull up this box and I'm going to change it to fractional. And unless you dimension, you're really not going to see this, but you know, they're trying to get you acquainted with some of the commands. So we are going to change the limits to be a lot bigger. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this rectangle because looking at it, you know, we won't be able to see it. But I'm going to set the limits now. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the limits. And I'm going to let it stick at 0, 0. Okay, so now the upper right corner, I'm going to count our grid. Remember, it's 5 inches per space. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 times 5 is 45. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 5, which is 35. So now we've got this gigantic grid, and I'm just going to slap this little, oh, you know what, I'm going to leave it there. It's out of the way. So, and basically what I've done is I've recreated the grid in the book. So I'm going to draw using the same area. For some reason mine doesn't look as wide, but we will see. So it's 3 tall, or 15 in this case, 3 units, 3 this direction, and then I'm going to skip 3 and draw this. It's 3 tall, 3 over. Okay, so now what we're going to do is draw our little circles and the big circles. I'm going to go ahead and knock out the low-hanging fruit here first and draw these 2 guys. So next, if you look closely, this is one of those times where you really want to make sure your grid snap is on if you're not already using it. And it's going to be over to here, a circle. The center point is literally right where my mouse is. And then for my radius, I'm going to click the endpoint, one of these 2 endpoints. So then I'm going to do the same thing on this end of the spectrum. And from here, it's up 1 unit. And I'm going to choose this guy. So now I can just go through and, you know, trim away the excess. Oop. And then we have 2 more little circles that are half units radius. And that's it, yeah. So up next, we're going to ramp it up a little bit, do some problem solving exercises. The first one we're going to do is problem solving exercise 2 on page 338. And let's see. The grid unit is half inch per spacing, so let's change that. All right. So it says to use arcs. We may. We're just going to draw it. You know, at this point, like, you know, this is where you kind of incorporate what you've learned. So you're welcome to draw with whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be, I'm going to start with this far left item. It's going to be 4 up. And let's see, what can we use as a starting point? I guess we'll do the fillet, the end of that fillet on the far left. So it's going to be 4 and 1.5 from the edge. But remember, that's units I'm talking about. So you're gonna have to actually count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll be right here. So perfect. Right here. Okay. So then it's going to be, let's see. They put like a goofy little, cut between some of the grids there in the middle to make it more complicated. So make sure you're counting closely. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 wide. Or 3.5. It's 7 units. I'm going to tell you, that gets me still too. So then we're going to 1.5 over from here. I'm going to turn off my snap for a minute. I'm going to draw a circle. Do the same on this end. Is it 1.5? I was wrong. It's actually just 1. Then we're going to draw our concentric circles here. And I'll go ahead and close this portion out. May as well draw it all while we're here. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. These circles actually are not grid sized. So they're going to be a diameter of 0.4. Okay, so then I suppose we can go ahead and we'll do this triangle. So what we can see is 1.5 overall width. So I'm going to offset half of that each way, which is 0.75. Oh, weird. I don't think it took my snap there. I'm going to turn polar off. Alright, so let's trim some of this up, make it a little more tidy. Okay, so now it's apparent there was actually room. And then you may be wondering, how do I get a circle to fit all those? You're going to do tan, tan, tan. And basically, you don't have to do anything. Technically, you actually just choose each side, and it locates it for you and sizes it. So then, from there, we're going to do a gigantic arc. And it appears to be that that's all that it is. There is no flat point. So we actually will use the arc tool. We're going to do, we're given a radius. So we'll do a start, end, radius, or something along that lines. Start, yeah, you know what, perfect. Start, end, radius. And it's kind of in a weird spot. We're going to do, let's put the grid back on. We're going to do right here. And then we'll do the same part on the other side. And then our radius value is, let's see, 1.25. Cool. Okay. So then I'm basically just going to do the same thing on the other side. Choose here and here. Make sure I've got it oriented the right way. 1.25. So then the final part is we're going to do 2 little circles that are 0.5, so we can use the grid. And it's going to be up 1.5. Just like so. Yeah, okay. So let's see. I think we just have one more. We do. It's going to be on page 341, and that's problem solving exercise 6. This one's actually a bit of a doozy, but at least we're going to finish strong here. All right, and we'll start with so we, what? Actually, let me check my grid. I think that I saw earlier. Okay, so it is set to 10. So we can go ahead and draw our first width of 10, and then we're going to kind of not really be using the grid at all, in all honesty, but I'm just going to use it where I can in this first part. So it's going to be 15 long here, and then we're given circles with a radius of 10. So this is one of the times where we can use the grid. There's not going to be many, like I said, but I can go ahead and just quickly draw that. And then we can keep on going. And everything is going to be aligned to this bottom edge at first. So I can go ahead and do a circle, and it's going to be 20 radius, and then a radius or diameter of 20. And then I can go ahead and draw our line and our other line, and it's going to be 10. So then I can take a huge leap and just go ahead and draw this 80 line and our circle here. And you know what? Let's go ahead and draw this over here too. So now I can trim up a little bit of this. Let's knock off these easy ones first. And there we go. Okay. So up next we have a line of 15, and I'm going to go ahead and just turn the grid off. No more of that. You know, it's been fun. And then we don't have everything we need, but you can kind of deduce the direction you need to go here. So if it's a radius of 25, that means it's obviously 25 this way and this way to the circle. So I'm going to do a line 25 long. And then for now, let's just draw an arbitrary length here. I'm going to then offset 35 from here to get where that line meets. And then I can just, oops, I'm going to extend it again. And then we know that it's 40 from here to here. So then I can trim off this tidbit. And then go ahead and delete this corner. Now I'm going to use the tan radius here. It's a radius of 25. So then I can trim off the excess portion we don't need. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to offset 32 from this line to get that vertex right there. So to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and trim that tidbit off and trim here. Delete this line. So from here, we probably really can't do very much, but we do know these are the endpoints of these lines. So I'm going to actually jump up here and finish this part. So let's go ahead and offset 60. And that's going to be to that bottom face. So I'm going to start, you know, obviously this end is in line with this end. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing upwards. And then we're given a radius of 30, so I'm just going to draw 15 over and then do a radius circle. And then a diameter of 40. Oh, earlier I did the wrong length. 30. Diameter 40. And radius of 30. Okay, so then I'm just going to draw an arbitrary length line here. Go ahead and delete this and draw the true value. It's going to be 40. And then after that, we're basically just going to do some arcs to finish out the rest. I'm going to delete this line, delete our title block because it's in the way again. Okay, so we've got start end radius. So we'll do a start here, and then it's going to end here, and polar radius is 78. So then we're going to do the same thing, and you know what? Actually, our endpoint is here, basically aligned to that edge. So then I'm going to do start, end, and the value is 58. All right. Make sure I've got everything here. It looks good to me. Very soon we're going to start dimensioning these, so feel free to go ahead and start getting that in early. It definitely cannot hurt. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see y'all next time.